Hi, I'm Rob Veazey, Urology Business Manager for Carlstorch UK. Welcome to BAUS 2020. Here behind me you'll see our virtual urology stand. Please follow the link and come inside to take a look at some of our focused product areas.
Good afternoon. My task is to set out what's in store for BAUS in the year to come. Where are we heading as an organization? In truth, it's not a great time to be a tipster. Here are last year's predictions from TSAB, and we all know what happened to those. Swamped and rendered irrelevant by COVID-19. Will next year be any different? In truth, I don't know. No one knows. It's difficult enough predicting events which might happen next month, let alone in a year's time. Looking back is an easier game. 2020 was in fact all set up to be a year of celebration, a year-long celebration. 100 years of urology at the RSM, 75 years of BAUS, 25 years of BAUM, and 25 years of TUF. But in truth, 2020 hasn't really felt anything like a party. Urologists of all vintages, and BAUS itself, have been preoccupied with a wholly different set of priorities and challenges. Cancel, reschedule, look for scraps of training anywhere you can, keep the family on track, manage the backlog, prioritize, establish virtual contact, and bunker down. Totally unexpected themes for the year. It is, though, our 75th birthday, and it would be wrong not to cut the cake and reminisce a little. What was urology like when BAUS was established in 1945? Well, fortunately, we don't have to guess because it's written down. Here are the journals from that year. The BJU, a very slim volume. The Journal of Urology, more weighty. Maybe then as now, a reflection of the British saying what needs to be said in fewer words. Here are the notes from that very first meeting of BAUS, when the primary objective of the society was defined. Admirably to the point, I would say, and just as relevant today. Consider it maybe the first commandment of BAUS, to promote a high standard in the practice of urology. It's also fun to see what urologists were debating at that time. No surprises there. And as now, argument and debate about prostate surgery. My technique, your technique, whose technique is best. Sound familiar? Note also the words highlighted in yellow. Restrictions upon transport and lack of accommodation made attendance impossible for many. More similarities between 2020 and 1945 than one might have imagined. In all other respects, though, our speciality has changed beyond belief in the last 75 years. Mr. Ogier Ward, the first BAUS president, might recognize the diseases, but certainly not the investigations or the treatments. A bewildering array of technical, radiological, biological, optical, mechanical, and pharmacological advances, which are truly astounding. Who knows what will come next? When the president of BAUS stands up to speak at the 125th meeting, when some of you listening today will still be alive, will our specialty be similarly unrecognizable to the urologist of today? I wonder. It's not just the urology that's different, of course. What would those founders of BAUS have made of social media, of Twitter, the BAUS president in his Twitter circle? Maybe it was all just easier when the chat was at the Athenaeum, the Twitter of its day. Looking back, it would be remiss not to remember a legendary urologist, Richard Turner Warwick, who died this year. Truly a great of British urology. I watched him operate once and was inspired. It's hard to do justice to his extraordinary legacy, really, but his obituaries were wonderful. I'd urge you to read them if you haven't had the chance. Less heralded was Abdul Chowdhury, who also died this year, but from COVID-19. This was a desperately sad day for British urology. He too had made remarkable contributions to advance urological health, most notably in Bangladesh. I didn't know him, but we certainly mourn him, and our love and prayers continue to go out to his family. A fitting legacy to both men might be for all of us to stay focused on this through the whole of 2021. Despite the continuing challenge of the pandemic, can we find the clarity of thought and action to keep our eyes on the main goal? This schematic sets out where your BAUS president will be focused, with an accompanying timeline. There is much to do. Let's look at these challenges in turn. Online learning was a key priority this summer, as was the online FRCS Ural Revision course. The leaders of the 4 work streams have done brilliantly, as have the team at BAUS, who've delivered it so smoothly. Learn at home, when you want to, listen again, rewind, no cost. I mean, what's there not to like? It's definitely here to stay. In fact, its potential seems almost limitless. And I'm delighted that in 2021, we'll be partnering with the AUA for some of the controversies in urology content. Much to look forward to, I would say. Those partnerships extend beyond webinars. BAUS and the BJUI are exploring new collaborations in this educational space in 2021. And of course, we'll continue to support and promote existing brilliant programs, such as the Registrar and Consultant boot camps in Leeds. They've currently been paused, of course, by the pandemic. It's a small jump from boot camp to BSOT, and I'd like to welcome its new chair, Neil Harvey. I'm sure we all wish him well in the role. I know he's brimming with ideas. And huge thanks in passing to Sot Tolafari, the outgoing chair, for all his work and sterling contributions in the hot seat over the last few years. Urolink also moves forward at pace, and there are really exciting new opportunities for trainees to get involved. Bursaries in 2021 for short visits to Urolink centres, and a very welcome outline agreement from the SAC that longer visits to Urolink centres for post-exam trainees can be classed as UPI experiences in the future. We do, of course, have one of the most international workforces in world urology. It's astonishingly diverse. But are we being systematic enough in our approach to building organizational relationships across the world of urology? I think not. I think it's all been a bit ad hoc. And the BAUS president cannot be the link to all the countries of the world, however many flights he or she takes during their term. I wonder if a better way might be to appoint a UK-based lead for each international partner and aggregate those leads into a BAUS international forum. Something I think worthy of consideration next year, and I'd appreciate your thoughts on this. We started the process of putting some shape to the landscape of specialty fellowships in the UK. The goal is to establish the UK as the best place in the world to do a specialty fellowship, whether you are from the UK or abroad. In July, we appointed Melissa Davis and Anthony Kuparis as directors of this program, and they've started mapping the landscape. Watch this space, hopefully much to report by the end of 2021. In my incoming address as president in June, I highlighted this new initiative between TUF and BAUS. It's been led by Grant Stewart at TUF, the BAUS research lead Caroline Moore, and myself. Our plan is to establish a key working partnership with a leading clinical trials centre in the UK. Our goal is to bring forward national multi-centre clinical trials in urology. TUF are funding it with $200,000 over 3 years. The good news is that 15 clinical trials units have applied to be our partners in this venture, which is really encouraging. In December, we start the difficult job of selecting the one. Do we want to put forward ideas? The answer is everyone. Individuals, sections, groups of new collaborators, trainees, BURST, of course. The key is the idea, not where it's from. The Urology Foundation has been doing a great job for 25 years, supporting urology in the UK. It's our charity, and this initiative needs support. I got involved for the first time this year in Bike to BAUS, and it was great fun. Urologists and patients from up and down the UK came together to raise money for urological research. Ben Eddy and Ben Chalackham have done a wonderful job leading this. If you're a urologist who jumps on a bike at the weekend, then maybe give thought to jumping on your bike for TUF in 2021. First is an incredibly vibrant, dynamic group of young researchers running studies all over the world. They're a real credit to British urology. Their new study, Resect, looks set to be a huge success to sit alongside Identify. It's addressing quality in TURBT. This is a study any department can join in, and I would encourage you to do so. Critical to the flow of ideas into the new research setup will be our subspecialty sections. BAUS trustees and BAUS Council have been vigorously discussing the sections since the summer. How best to make the most of the talent we have, and how best to structure the groups. Here they are. Most of the debate centres on the 4 clinically defined groups. There's undoubtedly a lot of good work being done within these groups. I'd perhaps highlight the consensus documents from FNUU on catheters, ureteric injuries and voiding dysfunction, the prioritization documents that help departments navigate a path through COVID, the ESWL networks that arose in COVID-19, and the specialty audits. All are excellent pieces of work. But there is a desire amongst trustees to deal with some long-standing structural anomalies which leave important conditions sitting across section boundaries. We want to establish pathfinder groups to bring new focus and energy to these areas and to complement the excellent work already being done. Details need to be hammered out, but we feel it's an opportunity that we should grasp next year. After all, at the first BAUS meeting in 1945, 75 years ago, urologists understood the need to make progress in surgery for BPH. Perhaps our section structure should finally reflect that. If we are to promote the highest standards in the practice of urology, we need to be an organization of all the talents. We need to widen participation so that more people have a stake in what we do and are excited by what we do. One simple measure will be to welcome a poster from every unit in the UK at the 2021 Congress. Tell us something you're doing well. Tell us something you're proud of or not proud of. Tell us something that will promote a high standard in the practice of urology. Maybe start preparing that poster now. How else will we look to widen participation? Well, rest assured, us faculty at Congress won't look like this. We need to make sure that the appeal of urology goes beyond its traditional constituencies. When more than half the medical students in the UK and 38% of trainees in urology are women. And I paraphrase my message of June 2020. If you're thinking of surgery, then make sure you think of urology. These are some of the women in urology who I'd be having those sort of conversations with in the last year or two, and enlightening conversations they've been. The challenge, of course, goes way beyond gender. Jo Cresswell, our next BAUS president, has picked up this baton, and the work is underway. Do contact her if you want to contribute. One way, of course, of widening participation is to listen to members. And as part of this agenda, I introduced a live presidential Q&A in July 2020. Register and speak was the plan, and people did, strongly. It was made very clear that BAUS needed to up its game with respect to SAS doctors. And this we've started to do. Nitin Chowdhury is leading a working group. Alvaro Bazo, Mawash Nadeem, Siraj Natiwala and SS Murali are contributing. And we've made some early moves. Get an SAS doctor back onto BAUS Council. Count SAS doctors in our workforce reports. And support SAS doctors in their careers. In some parts of the country, SAS doctors are the backbone of the urology service. And if we are to promote a high standard in the practice of urology, we need to support those SAS doctors at BAUS. Finally, we plan to widen participation by broadening the membership base of BAUS. The urological team is drawn from a wide range of disciplines, so why not our membership too? We adapted the rules at the recent AGM, and you can expect detail on this initiative during the next 6 months. A major push at BAUS is to promote our speciality at medical schools and amongst FY doctors. Urology, along with many other surgical disciplines, has been systematically excised from the curriculum. It's wrong, and we need to react. 2 initiatives in this regard. Ben Ayres has last week been appointed as the new medical student lead on BEC. He's done a wonderful job at St George's to date in these areas, and I'm really looking forward to his contributions at BAUS. And secondly, BAUS has made a film with ITN. It's to promote urology amongst the unconvinced. I've seen a pre-production version, and it's good, it's different. It should help us promote our specialty, and it will of course be made widely available to members after the meeting. And we need to be relentless in getting this message across to every medical school, all 33 of them. Urology is a great career. Talk to Ben about ideas you may have. Share them. Maybe make a poster about them. And why not plan a urology fair in 2021 and maybe run it in 2022 or do it online? There are plenty of things that you could do. What of the groups that run BAUS? What's happening there? Well, we're introducing non-urological trustees to BAUS to widen the skill mix available to the organization. The first of these should be in place early next year. 2 of our current trustees stepped down at the end of the year. It's a good moment now to thank David Thomas and Sachin Agrawal for their superb contributions over the last 3 years. Really wise counsel. An advert for a urological trustee to replace them will be out shortly. Maybe give it some thought. Do you think this is where you might want to make a contribution to BAUS? BAUS Council is also changing to become an organization more focused on strategy, and hopefully therefore an organization that's more fun to be part of. Frustratingly, the residential event in Cambridge has been a victim of COVID and has been cancelled and recancelled. But in time it will happen, and I think it holds much promise. If you want to contribute to BAUS Council, then why not thinking of joining by standing as a regional rep? The BAUS office is also changing. We say goodbye to Louise Finch in December, who's returning to Australia. She's been a delightful, innovative member of the team, and I wish her well. A particular thank you for orchestrating the virtual FRCS Urol course from 10,000 miles and 9 time zones away. A stupendous effort. Her replacement will have digital as a major element of the job plan to reflect the changing times. The whole BAUS team moves in May 2021 into the new build at Lincoln's Inn. There's a lot of work ahead, but a real chance to refresh and draw inspiration from a new environment. The space looks amazing. A big change in the BAUS office in the spring next year is the retirement of Dendrite, our audit platform. It's been a dominant and very successful theme of the organization for the last 6 years. But reports like this will be no longer as we move audit to routine collection of data and condition-specific audits. We do, though, want to learn the most from the rich data sets we have, and they will be used to define standards in the operations we've studied. John McGrath and his team in Exeter are working hard on producing summary close of play reports for the benefit of everyone. COVID has made everyone rethink congresses. Here I am, speaking on Zoom at the first ever BAUS Virtual Congress. A good moment, I think, to say a huge thank you to Asif Munir, Harry Heald, Ian Pearce, Louise Finch, and the whole BAUS team that we're here at all. A totally new event for all of us, and quite an undertaking to orchestrate. Well done from me to everyone who has made it such a success. Should virtual be the future, the default for BAUS? This is, after all, the best attended BAUS in history, the most registrations we've ever had. We've been able to reach out to sister associations. It's run to time. It costs 90% less to stage than an in-person event, and we've offered it free to members. It's quite a list. If the traditional Congress is to survive, then I think it's going to need to change. Interactivity and networking will be critical, as will having fun. We've all missed the social aspects of our specialty. Maybe fundraising too, for our research programs, should be a major feature of Congress. That might make it Congress with a purpose. Questions, of course, remain. Will people still want to pay sizable registration fees to attend in person? What would we have to do to make Congress a member benefit? In June, I highlighted the clinical revolution triggered by the switch to remote working, and in particular, the need for a new infrastructure in our places of work. The clinical revolution has also brought to the fore the importance of functioning networks, the fusing of private and public, and the need to decentralize diagnostics. In November, 5 months on, I would also ask whether we might need a different sort of urologist. As one colleague said to me, "Tim, did I do all this training to sit in a call center?" Maybe it's time for a BAUS working group on the virtual urologist. And in closing, another look at the schematic for the year ahead. Who knows where we'll be in 2021? What new challenges will be emerging? A computer virus, maybe. If it all gets too complicated, let's just remember that call to arms from the very first BAUS. Our goal is actually very simple. Have a great year.